Subtitles, you'll never guess what's coming next. Before they could think, a car sound came from outside. They went to the window and saw the daytime parked car was gone. Monty hurried outside, and just as they stepped through the doorway, the car lights flashed on in the rain. Little did they know, the car thief could be one crazy character. They had to retreat into the building. They couldn't let their car be stolen, so they split up to find a phone inside, planning to call the cops for help. Just as Katie and the others went off to find a phone, Monty, who was lurking by the window, suddenly heard a noise. He thought it was a companion and went to check, but never returned. Mary waited anxiously. Seeing Monty didn't return, curiosity drove her to follow, and she found a blood-stained wall. As she turned and the light tremblingly, Katie and two others rushed over. Mike hid behind the door and saw Mary had been killed by the masked man. With no time for explanations, the trio scrambled to find a hiding spot, holding their breaths as footsteps crept closer. When the masked man turned towards them, Mike seized a bench in a fit of bravery, but despite his heroic strike, the masked dude was surprised. Unfortunately, the masked man wasn't hurt. Mike vowed to fight to the end, grabbed wood, and fought. But the masked man instantly counterattacked and soon found Megan's hideout, yanking her up. Megan was begging for mercy, but the masked man was as emotional as a rock. Seeing her in distress, Katie charged out like a knight in shining. With all her courage, she stabbed him in the shoulder, but to no avail. He might as well have been a robot. To flee the masked man, Katie ran outside and saw a figure like her sister in the woods nearby. As she shouted, the masked man axed her. Katie and her 4 companions all died by his hand. But then, like a cheesy horror flick, the hourglass on the wall flipped, and they came back to life. Not just Mike, but the whole crew was as puzzled as a cat in a dog show. They all clearly remembered meeting their doom, so why were they back? And it got weirder. On a missing wall, their photos were up, unknown when. The 5 stared blankly at them. Out of the blue, Megan suddenly spoke up, listening to their conversation. Monty found it too weird and urged a quick exit. Before they moved, the door opened by itself. Then it slammed shut like a scene from a horror movie, as if an unseen force was controlling it. Monty, with his newfound courage, stepped forward to shut it. Mike had to hold it open with all his strength. Finally, it stabilized, but suddenly, Megan's body started to twist in a bizarre. It was like something unsettling had possessed her. They flicked on their flashlights. Megan, who was just sitting on the couch, had vanished, now floating ominously in front of a canvas. Subtitles, she kept muttering incessantly, and it was clearly evident that something malevolent had just attached itself to Megan. She seemed to convey something to Katie and others. Who did she refer to? Before thinking, urgent knocks sounded outside. Monty peeked out the window, but it was eerily empty. Who was knocking? Just when they were at a loss, a girl's voice called from outside, and it was none other than Katie's sister. They hurriedly opened the door wide. Mom? They clearly remembered that this place didn't have a house when they arrived, so how on earth did that house just pop up? As they pondered, suddenly Katie was yanked up by some mysterious force while the others tried to help but got shoved back inside. Then Katie was dragged toward that strange house. When she finally got up, she realized the place was packed with creepy mannequin faces staring at her. There was an old lady sitting in a chair, completely zoning out in front of the TV like she was in a trance. No response, so Katie moved closer and called again, making the lady's hand twitch. But her face remained unchanged. With the earlier scare of being yanked in, Katie thought better of bothering her. Katie couldn't help but keep her eyes glued to the old woman. She felt the weight of those eyes and decided it was best to sneak away. But no matter how hard she twisted the doorknob, it wouldn't budge. She glanced back, and to her horror, the old lady's creepy grin freaked Katie out so much that she nearly cried. Katie pleaded to just be let out. Katie, forced to wear a mask, had pitch black eyes. The old lady then turned to bones and dust instantly. Meanwhile, Mike planned to break down the door for Katie, but it opened by itself. Worried, he rushed in without hesitation. The other 2 panicked after Mike entered. They tried to drive off but got caught in the rain. Terrifying creature blocked their path, and the two terrified individuals had no choice but to plunge deeper into trouble. Terrified, they tried to retreat, but just when they thought about getting out, Mary gasped and turned around to find Monty had met his maker right there in the seat. The masked man appeared by her window just as Mike stepped into the house to find ashes scattered on the floor. Katie wasn't seen. She followed the sound to a second-floor room where a chair rocked, only to find a clown doll sitting there. Mike, drenched in sweat, quickly kicked the doll away, but as he turned to bolt, Katie appeared out of nowhere wearing a clown mask. Cue the horror movie screams. Just when they thought Katie might escape, she stepped outside only to be mowed down by the masked man in his car. It was game over for Katie. As her eyes returned to normal, the hourglass turned once more, bringing their dead friends back to life and resetting them to when they first entered the building. Would this happen again? No escape, no dying. Could it really keep repeating like they feared? With prior experience, they blocked all doors to deter the masked man, then hid in the bathroom to plan. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to subscribe to our channel.